let's open up a new Colab notebook. In this particular case, we're going to use the Elif, which we'll introduce in a minute, else statements. And we're going to do this through an example. Okay, what we're going to do here is write a function that basically provides different feedback depending on user score. All right, so basically someone's playing a game here and we're going to give them like positive feedback depending on the score. Let's say the max is 100 here. Okay, so def, let's just call this something like it's the score response. We're responding to the score. And then the input is going to be what their score is for a certain game. Okay, and what we're going to do, like we can look at it maybe say in different intervals. Like let's just look at like if they get between, so here's the idea. If they get between like 0 and 20, you want to say one thing. Let's say like they've got to have at least a 0. Okay, or let's say everybody gets a point automatically. But let's start with if score is less than 20. Okay, so what are we going to say? Okay, in each case, we'll just return something. So that's our if statement. Well, let's just return, keep practicing, okay? And try to be positive. Now, we don't want to just break this down into 2 cases. We want to break this down into a range of different cases. And so the idea is, okay, if is just one statement, if else is only 2. So what if you want multiple? That's where the elif comes into play. It's short for else if, right? And so now we have all these other different point options, but let's say now we want to check, we want to provide something if it's less than 40. Now do note that it did show the else if. Elif is the way to write it, okay? It's shorthand for that. So elif score is less than 40. Now, note that the elif should match the indentation with the if, okay? And I think like when I first press return, it's not in the right place, okay? It goes as if it's inside of the if. You've got to match it with the if. Okay, so now we're going to return something else, maybe getting better. Okay, and then we keep going with different elifs, okay? And so the next, if we're doing 20-point intervals, of course, would be 60. And here, you can choose whatever string you want, right? Just trying to make it practical and a little fun. Maybe great score. Okay, and then one more elif, okay? Elif score is less than 80. Very impressive. And then finally, the last one is not an elif. Okay, it's an else. Okay, else. And now you don't have to say anything because the idea is that the game would be structured so that, I don't know, you're getting points. You don't have to say if less than or equal to 100. You can simply say else. In this case, we'll return something like, I don't know. You are the best. Double exclamation. Okay, so this is a function that should give different responses based on different scores. Note that the if and elifs are all matched together. You can have as many elifs as you like. It's common just to have one because you want to break something into 3 different cases. You could have many, many more, right? It's just really about how you want to break apart something like, say, a score and provide different feedback depending on the value. I do want to mention one other thing before we run this. So I know that some people would do something like this. Elif, and then you'd say, well, we want score to be greater than or equal to 20 because where's the greater than? That matches. And then we would need that sort of and operator. And we need the score to be, actually we don't, because score greater than or equal to 20, that would be a true, and so it would be and score less than 40. Okay? So those are just 2 Booleans like this. And you can do that. Okay, you can see it's sort of adding, though, unnecessary code, because once you really understand how the Elif works, you realize you don't need it like that. Okay, so why is that extraneous? Okay, I want you to step back and think about it. Why, for instance, can I comment that out and just write Elif score is less than 40? Okay, well, let's go over it. So I'm going to comment it out first and look at the alternative. Okay, so somebody gets a score. And let's say it's 25, okay? Well, if the score is less than 20, well, guess what? It's not less than 20. So once that code has gone through, everything less than 20 is out of the case. This would be redundant, actually. Score greater than or equal to 20, by bypassing the previous if, you've bypassed, well, sorry, not the greater than or equal to 20. You've bypassed sort of what's missing here, which is that it's less than 20, right? They're all going to be greater than or equal to 20, okay? Every time you arrive at this line of code, you're only looking at scores that are greater than or equal to 20. Okay, so you can only have to say less than 40. Okay, so this is extra. Not needed. By the way, if you want to show you like a way to maybe do this, if you want to keep it in, not needed, and then you can point above like this. Okay, simply not needed. Okay, so let's now store it and run it. You can see it's actually a clean way to do it. Got too many sessions open, which is common. I will go ahead and leave this error in because it happens. I'm sure it happens to you as well. Close it up, run this code, and I think at some point Colab changed that because I used to not get that error in the past. And so let's check now some different responses. Okay, so we checked like 25 or 24. So what if the person scores 24? What does it say? Getting better. See, it's kind of fun, right? You want to have your outputs be fun. And so let's say, what if the person then they only get 15? Keep practicing, right? Be positive. And suddenly they get the amazing score of 65. We don't have to check all the alternatives, but it's just kind of cool to see that now you are in fact getting the different responses based on different scores, about an amazing 98. Okay, and there you have it. So that's a fun one. Elifs, keep in mind, you want to use them whenever you want to break sort of your condition down into more than two cases.